All right, my friends, welcome to FISHTORY, and I want to show you something about ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT and a lot of these search engines are great. A lot of the AI is great that's out there. It can do a whole lot of powerful things, and that's wonderful. But I want to show you some of the shortcomings that occur with this and why they occur. So why, when you're doing research about what your next fish is going to be or how to care for a fish that you recently acquired, why you're going to run into some major pitfalls and some sometimes bizarre occurrences. So let me just show you a few examples. So here's the first quick one. If you've been watching the channel, you know I just did a video on rosy loaches. So we're going to provide the care information for a rosy loach in a home aquarium. All right, we're not doing the Latin name. We're not doing any of that. We're just going to see what it gives us. Now, this is a little bit nitpicky, but the Latin name has changed, and that occurred over 3 years ago now. So that actually occurred at the very beginning, well, arguably about 3 years ago, at the beginning of 2023, although the name was kicking around for 2 years before that even. Yet here we still see this name right here, this Petruchithys, and we also see another variety here that's a different genus altogether, neither of which are accurate. So then we go down, we look at all this info, and yeah, this info is more or less correct. I would say that, you know, their size is more like 1 inch max, maybe 1.2 inches max, and most of the information here is pretty good otherwise. I mean, even the hardness and all that kind of stuff. You could argue with a lot of people over things like nitrates, nitrites, and what's a safe level or not, but we're not going to worry about any of that. So let's skip over all of that, and let's just see, like, are we even on the right fish? Because that's something that might be kind of important, right? So if you're looking at what it eats and stuff, you know, with a lot of these nanofish, it's gonna be right if it just takes a wild guess. But where is it getting the info? Well, it's scrubbing the internet and then learning. And some of these AI models are true AI, where they actually are deducing things. Others are just basically a big search engine that are looking at sources. And so what I want to show you is here we're in the ChatGPT, you know, app itself, and I wanted to see some photorealistic images of which fish they're talking about. And right here we see that we get two different species right off the bat. So we get a male here, and this is a female, but this is the Aracanensis version of the rosy loach. Now here is the rosy loach that we would be talking about most likely, which is the species mango, and that's what we just did my whole deep dive video on. So let's hop out of here and let me show you really quick when we go into all these internet settings what I pulled up. So I pulled up the correct name for the mango loach, which right here, that's it, the Fishtosura mango. That is the new name. As of 2023, it was given that name. The other names that came up in ChatGPT were incorrect. Now, this is also the case if you look up new tetras, if you look up new Corydoras. There are 8 or 9 new groups now, and they're all a little bit outdated from what this has scrubbed years in the past. Even though it's actively scrubbing, things are behind. So when I hit the info button on looking up the actual Latin name of this fish, and I'm trying to get information on it, when I get the AI overview through Google, so this isn't ChatGPT, this is the Google overview now, their AI little search thing that pops up when you use the Google browser now, hit the little link button, hit the little chain link button, and you'll find more info going around about where the info came from. And look at this. It came from Rachel O'Leary's YouTube channel on June 26th, 2016. That's a little bit outdated, I must say, right, guys? See, here even it says that the maximum length equals 1 inch, males brightly colored. Yeah. Okay, so that, that's all in there. And a lot of this information is correct, yet some of this info is incorrect. So how is it deciding to rank that the species is correct and that the family and the taxonomy and all this stuff here is correct, yet that the size is incorrect? So that gets kind of a little bit troubling on when we're trying to figure out details that are very specific to each fish. So here you can see the old name of the fish, and that was the Unanalis, and that was a big group, basically a big genus or genera, where they put all these fish that were small loaches and small cyprinids that were from Lake Inle, from Yunnan province, from northern Burma, Myanmar, and from Thailand and Laos, that basically they didn't know what to do with otherwise taxonomically. Ever since then, they've had, they've had DNA, and they've been able to do more research. So if we go in here and we look up the Rosy loach just on its own, we can see that yet again, boom, what pops up? Aquatic Arts old listing of the Rosy loach, and here is where they're getting that name, with the arcanensis. Now this is different than the Lake Inle Rosy loach, and yet it didn't use the picture from Aquatic Arts as the only picture. It let us bring up a whole bunch of pictures of this fish. And here, this fish is, right here that you see. Remember how many spots were on the female in that first picture we saw on ChatGPT? I'll go back and show you. But it's none of these pictures. This is the Physhostra mango. This is the loach. That one has quite a few little spots, and you maybe debatably, I don't know, we could look at the taxonomy there. But long story short, this is a different species. This is the little mango loach, which was the Rosy loach. But there's also an arcanensis loach. And in fact, there's actually a whole bunch of these loaches. There's 9 of them in the genus. So when we go to the Physhostra genus, look at this. There are these different ones right here, and the Physhostra mango is one, but they don't even have the arcanensis listed as one of the species anymore. So it becomes then, well, what happened there? And is this that kind of has inensis, and this has schwangenenjangenensis. So it becomes very easy for people to get confused and to mix up information when this is this confusing. Now, overall, you'd think, okay, well, it's all right, because we can go and we can click on things like the sources down below. And usually when you do that, you can end up finding some clarity, but none of these are live links here. Like here, we've got pages 236 to 248 in a book on the greater family of these loaches. And yet, there's no way to click on it or anything. There's no live link or even more context for it. So, it's a frustrating situation, to say the least. So let's pull up something like, the Panda Corydoras, Panda Corydoras, and so we've got the Panda Corydoras. And right now, everyone knows what we're talking about when we're talking about the Panda Corydoras, right? We all are talking about this little catfish that's in the hobby, tends to like a little bit colder water, has these markings, yada yada, easy to breed, all that. Well, there is now a new naming structure for that. So when we go to the keyboard's all split, but Corydoras taxonomy update. So we go here, And you'd think that the AI or a search engine, one or the other, would have these updated. But no. In fact, since 2024, we've actually had these all reclassified into subfamilies, into 7 distinct genera instead of the 9 that we once had. Now we've got the Corydoras, the Aspidoras, the Scleromystax, the Hoplosomas, the Brochus, the Gastrodermis, and the Osteogaster. And they all fall into one of those. So then we have to figure out, okay, well, where did that Cory end up going, and which Latin name is correct, and then like what paper published am I looking for even? Are we looking for Corydoras panda? Like, that's a pretty straightforward fish, but let's say Osteogastrix. That's spelled wrong, but whatever. Panda catfish. And bada bing, bada boom. So, okay, so yeah, corrected it. It is still the Corydoras panda here. But no, it's not. Look at this. It's the Hoplosoma panda. And Wikipedia knows this. And it was right here, formerly known as Corydoras panda. So I was just looking and guessing what group it fell into because I didn't know. Now, with this known, we can look up all these things like which river systems it's from, and the history of its name and when it was first identified and what it might have been confused with, and all these other really interesting and fundamental things that can then help us figure out things like diet and spawning and care of these fish. But yet again, it's all about the sources, and what is happening here is it's taking sources such as Wikipedia, it's taking sources such as its own Google search, and then whatever it AI rated. So now that we know it's Hoplosoma, we can say Hoplosoma, right, as the genus Hoplosoma. And we can see if I spelled that wrong too, but here we got it either way. Panda Corydoras. So now that's frustrating because it refers us back to the Panda Corydoras, right? Even though it does know that that's its former name. Right here, it's using all these old but trusted sources. And when we looked at them all stacked up, let's see if we can see that again. Can I get that to go back up? It's using everything from Fish Shop Matt to Tiny Menagerie on YouTube to Spruce Pets to The Shrimp Farm to PetSmart to Fish Lore. I mean, these are the sources it's using. And so it's assuming that, well, if all these things say it's true, it must be true, right? That must be what it is. It must be that it is that. Well, then you get down here and you start getting into true, actual academic work, like the iNaturalist page where people actually care about the taxonomy. You start getting into things like Aquarium glosser, and they even have the species name before it was assigned, the CW49, when it was just in the hobby and they didn't know for sure yet which it was going to be. So it shows you a really interesting picture, though, of how you can't necessarily trust this information right off the bat. You need to go and find your trusted sources, not through AI or through the top of the search page or these amalgams. And also, when you if you are using these shortcuts and searching that way, go and click on the actual link button and see what it used, because it's telling you that this is the authority. And do you really think that the shrimpfarm.com or PetSmart are the authority on the newest, most up-to-date taxonomy on a fish. So while it might be okay for certain things, it's definitely out of date on others. And clearly, whatever they have ranking authority and deciding, oh, this is an authoritative source, is not what is actually an authoritative source. You'd actually want to go to something like FishBase, something like one of the sites where in California they've got the freshwater fish database through the USC schools there. But right here, FishBase, you can see that they've got over, that's just wild, over 332,000 common names, over 36,000 species. So they really do have quite the collection here to sort through and to look through. But it's not optimized for outside search by those outside forces. And so really you need to just come and do the footwork yourself, or you need to have a trusted source, someone who will go and find the primary information, who will look at this citation and decide, is this actually the correct information? And if they cite it, you want to have a trackable history. That's the whole point, so that you can find out who they trusted and who they believed the info from. So I hope this is just a small glimpse into the pitfalls and troubles that I'm seeing now, and why people are saying, like, no, I know this plant and it likes a KH of this. It needs hard water and it wants this minerality, or this shrimp is from this island, and it's like, it's not even the right species name anymore. It's switched places, or it's 100 years out of date, but it took some almanac that was highly rated and highly authenticated or highly ranked in its authentication and respectability in the search results, and it ranks that above it, even if it's far out of date. So date does not take precedence over accuracy, and accuracy does not take precedence over anything necessarily if they think the source is already trustworthy. So I just wanted to share this with you guys and pass it on to someone in the hobby. If you see someone using these kind of like rundown info sheets, printouts that all kind of look the same, they're all kind of got the same, oh, this is the habitat, this is the species care info. And it's why I try to go deeper, and I try to go all the way back to the taxonomy and to the original papers and to the original documentations, or people who've worked with these species firsthand, to try to authenticate that information through a primary, or at least a secondary source, as we call it when we're doing the research. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on FISHTORY.